Ugh, the stuffy nose. We've all been there, right? That miserable, clogged up feeling, it just wrecks your day. You can't sleep, you can't focus, you can barely even breathe. And you always hear that old advice, just go sweat it out in a sauna. But does that actually do anything?
So, let's get right into it. Is a trip to the sauna really going to help? Is all that heat and steam just a nice, comforting feeling, or is there some actual science behind it? We're going to follow the evidence and see where it leads.
And, this is a huge deal for a lot of people. We're talking about over 30 million Americans dealing with chronic sinusitis. 30 million. That's a massive number of people just desperate for some relief, which makes finding a good, simple remedy super important.
Okay, so let's start with the why. What's the thinking here? Why do people swear by this? Well, it all boils down to a pretty cool biological process that kicks in when your body gets warm.
And that process is called vasodilation. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. The heat from a sauna or even just a steamy shower makes the blood vessels inside your nose, well, they widen up. And this one little trick sets off a whole chain reaction that can really bring some relief.
Let me break it down for you. First, the heat widens those blood vessels. Step 2, that gets more blood flowing to your nasal passages. Step 3, that increased flow helps bring down the inflammation and swelling, the very thing that's making you feel so blocked up. And finally, all that warm, moist air helps thin out the mucus, which makes it way, way easier to, get it out.
Okay, so that's the theory, and it sounds pretty good, right? But what does the actual research say? Is there any hard evidence to back all this up? Let's dig in and see.
Well, for starters, experts are definitely on board with the idea. One ear, nose, and throat specialist put it perfectly. The steam does two key things. It hydrates your entire respiratory tract, and it helps thin out all that gunk. It's like a 1-2 punch right against that stuffy feeling.
And it's not just talk. We've got some real data here. There was this study back in 2019. Researchers had people wear a special mask that produced warm, humid air. And guess what? They found a significant drop in what they call nasal resistance, which is just a fancy way of saying it was a whole lot easier for people to breathe through their noses. So yeah, targeted heat can make a real measurable difference.
So that's it then. Case closed. He works. End of story, right? Not so fast. The full picture is actually a little more complicated, and there are some really, really important limitations you need to know about.
Look, let's be super clear about this. While it can make you feel better for a bit, it's not a magic cure. Not at all. It doesn't actually fix what's causing your stuffy nose in the first place, whether that's a nasty cold virus or seasonal allergies.
And this is where things get really interesting. A big study came out of the University of Southampton, and they looked specifically at people with chronic sinusitis, the kind that just won't go away. And what they found was that steam inhalation was, get this, not effective for their congestion. The only silver lining was that it did seem to help with the headaches that often come with it.
So here's the absolute key takeaway. We have to separate managing symptoms from an actual cure. Think of it like this. The heat is basically putting a comforting blanket on the problem. It makes you feel better for a little while, but it's not actually fighting the battle for you. It's not going to make that infection disappear any quicker.
Okay, so knowing all that, if you still want to use a sauna or a steamy shower just to get some temporary relief, which is totally fair, it's absolutely vital that you do it safely. So let's quickly run through the big rules here.
All right, rule number 1, and this is a big one. If you have a fever, just stay away from the sauna. Your body is already stressed out, and adding more heat is a really bad idea. Number 2, hydrate. Hydrate, hydrate. Drink water before, during, and after. Seriously. Also, keep it short. We're talking 10, maybe 30 minutes tops. And the most important rule of all, just listen to your body. If you start feeling dizzy or weird, get out immediately.
Oh, and here's a quick pro tip. It's good to know the difference between a sauna and a steam room. A sauna is all about that dry heat, which is great for your muscles and circulation. But for a stuffy nose, you're probably better off in a steam room. That super moist air with almost 100% humidity is what really does the trick for your airways.
All right, we've gone through the science, we've looked at the studies for it, the studies against it, and we've covered the safety rules. So let's bring it all home. What's the final verdict here?
I think this quote from an ENT expert really nails it. Heat and steam are not a replacement for seeing a doctor, especially if you have a chronic problem, but they can be a really helpful complementary therapy. It's something you do in addition to your other treatments, just to manage the symptoms and, honestly, feel a little more human when you're sick. So, here's where we land. It's a comforting therapy, but it's not a cure. It's about temporary relief. And that leaves one last question, really. When you're feeling totally miserable and you can't breathe through your nose, is that temporary relief worth it? For a lot of us, I think the answer is a big, steamy yes.